everyone, it's Maginers and welcome back. Today I have my dad with me. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime, sweetie.
I really appreciate it. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Dad. I think we covered that already. Hi, my name's David. I am honored to be Gracie's father. How's that?
You better be.
I am. All day long.
Love that. So I have talked about in the past my journey towards special education with Mom before. And so I thought that we could kind of dive into how you came across working with people with special needs and your kind of journey so that people can get a different perspective on that.
Okay. I work for a company that owns and operates 32 group homes for people with varying types and ages of disabilities. I got into this business about 30 years ago, and I'd never known it existed. I never worked with anybody with special needs before. I didn't really have any exposure to kids when I was younger with special needs, and it just was. So I was looking for a job. I needed a job, and it said, "Are you a people person?" And I went, "Yeah, I'm a people person." And so I applied and was working with people with special needs in a day program that specialized in taking care of people with highly physical aggressive behaviors. And so I had no idea what I was getting into. I just started. And it was like I never saw the sun before. It was just an eye-opening experience for me. I never felt more comfortable working with a group of people like that. And of course, then my colleagues, my coworkers, were people just like me who had, this either undiscovered or discovered passion of working with people with special needs. And that was 30 years ago. And now I'm the training director for a company. I've been in the business for 30 years and looking forward to retirement in a few years anyway. And this has been my career. I mean, I can't possibly tell you how lucky and blessed I am to have kind of stumbled upon it.
I love that. That's so cool. Yeah, I remember when you were working for Howery and you were teaching people like CPR and first aid. And when I was really, really little, I thought, oh, so he is basically could work as in an ambulance or like he's like a doctor. He has he knows all the medical stuff.
Yeah, I'm not that magical.
So I thought oh, that's what he does. And you were like, no, that's not
what I do.
It's not what you do.
That's not what I do.
No, you had a lot of things that got you to teaching people how to save lives, but you did start at a group home.
Correct.
And and worked your way up to being a training director.
Yes, absolutely. And and of course in the business, whether you're in education like you are, in a school system, or a group home like company like I work in, there's especially with any kind of healthcare, there's just tons of regulations and rules and policies you have to follow when you are taking care of people that can't always take care of themselves. And so I immersed myself in that business and understand the rules, and so that's my job, is to make sure that our company follows the training guidelines, which includes CPR and first aid and a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm not about to start boring anybody with. But I think the most important thing, that I enjoy doing with my job is meeting new employees, and of course our current ones, because if I train new employees, I continue to train current employees, is connecting with them and then trying to establish a company culture, because I've been at my present job for 15 years, and a company culture of the people we work with in those homes are fully formed, fully functional human beings. And even though some people in society may not see it that way, it's absolutely true. And people with special needs, they get happy, they get sad, they cry, they laugh, they get mad. It's everything. I mean, they're just fully formed people, and interacting with them and treating them with I always say the big five: dignity, respect, kindness, compassion, and love.
Yep.
Those
Yep.
are the 5 things that kind of create the culture that when you have that in your workplace,
Mm-hmm.
when you're interacting, especially with people in that kind of setting, doesn't make it perfect, but it makes it better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I feel like those 5 things don't just apply to, treating people who have disabilities, but also just treating people in general with all of those things. Treating people with dignity and respect. You've always just instilled that in my brain, and I always try my best to do so. And working with people with special needs, which is what I did in high school and what I am still pursuing to do, is just it's still instilled in my brain that you have to you have to treat people with dignity and respect and all those things outside of people with special needs, because everyone deserves that kind of respect.
Yeah, and I think especially in today's world of drama, whether it's social unrest that we've been seeing the last bunch of years, or the political spectrum that we seems to be tearing the country apart from time to time. Um, if you can put those 5 things in your life,
Mm-hmm.
and then act upon them with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your people you serve in the houses, life gets better. It really
Right.
does.
Right.
And I came to the conclusion for my life a long time ago. I think a lot of us, when we grow up with, I want to change the world, I want to do this, I want to do that, something really significant. I don't think any fourth grader ever says, or a third grader ever says, I want to work in a group home, or I want to, I want to be a factory employee. But those jobs are such essential parts of our lives that allow society to continue to function properly. Mm-hmm. I came to the conclusion for me a long time ago that I wasn't going to change the world.
Right.
Even though you have big dreams when you're a kid, but I also knew that through the good job I do, I can change somebody's world.
Exactly. I think that a lot of people think that by changing the world, you have to do something big.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh, I'm going to be the president and I'm going to change the world. You could also just like work in a kindergarten classroom and be changing the world that way, because you're making people happy. And isn't that like, like that should be like your motto in life, is just to make people happy. So I think that that's changing the world a little bit, just by making people happy.
Well, I mean, it really is. I mean, and you look at the circle of people that you surround yourself with in your existence.
Mm-hmm.
Easy for you and I, Mom, Alex, Sarah, Richard, Molly. Our friends, our family are really close to us. It's easy to see how our attitudes and our actions can help that group of people live a better life and be happier.
Mm-hmm.
Just by treating each other
Mm-hmm.
with those things. And again, perfection is not an option. You always want to be positive if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that circle, hopefully it's just the ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I treat somebody else, and then they in turn treat somebody else, and then they in turn treat somebody else with that attitude. And change doesn't always happen overnight. It can, obviously, but in this case, with those 5 things, I think change is inevitable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, thinking back to when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, working in special education and working with people with special needs, I had to realize that I'm Grace Hadlick, and I'm not my brother, I'm not my sister, I'm not my mom, I'm not my dad. And it took me a long time, because I was in choir for a little bit, and I thought I had to pursue that because my brother had such a big name in high school. And then I was like, okay, but I still want to be involved in theater, because I do love listening to music, like any kind of music. And so I wanted to be involved in theater, and I realized that's not making me happy. I enjoy it, but it wasn't something that I could stick to.
It's part of your life still.
Right.
Yeah.
It is part of my life, but then I was like, there's something that I can run with, and I know that there's something out there I can run with. Yeah. And then I realized I got to get out of choir, and I needed an elective. And so my study hall teacher, Mrs. Knudsen, worked with you guys and was like, okay, we gotta we got to figure out an elective because she needs an elective. And I was like, well, I don't want like a tech ed elective or like a computer elective. I'm not good with like STEM things. I'm not good with, sciencey things. And so she was like, well, I mean, she's constantly around the special needs kids.
Yeah.
And so why doesn't she just do that? Just be in the classroom for an hour, because I rode the minibus. And I was around them constantly in the cafeteria. I sat with them at lunch. And so I was like, okay. And it was like home, I walked through those doors and I was like, I'm home.
You're home.
And so it felt really great. But it took me a minute to get there, because I had to realize, I had to come to the conclusion that I'm not going to pursue choir. I'm not going to pursue STEM. I'm not going to pursue any other kind of elective. This is what I do. This is who I am. I have to be in special education.
And I think that's kind of a scary thing as a child, or growing from being a kid to an adult where you are now. You all you know is what you know.
Mm-hmm.
You see your parents around you doing certain things, or your brothers and sisters doing certain things, and that's what you know. And you're like, I want to try this, I want to try that, I want to do this. And to go out on your own and try something totally different. And even when you started on this, and I know I've had this job for years, of course, and you kind of had a little bit of an idea on what I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when I don't think I ever pushed you into this at all. I never said, hey, try this, try this, try this. But to go out on your own and to try something that's totally off your radar, and go, hey, I'm going to check this out. That takes some guts and some courage, and then to sit there and go, hey, this is it. It is life changing to a certain extent. And whether or not you stick with the school system or some type of private organization working with special needs kids or adults, Gracie, is always going to be part of your life.
Yeah.
It's always going to be.
Yeah, it's inevitable. I mean, I'm a person with a disability, and being around those people it's my community, it's my environment, and so why not work in there and help those people, because I get them.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, a lot of people who I work with and I know in my business, they're like, oh, you have a child with a disability. Is that why you started doing this? And I said, no, I've been doing this 10 years longer than we had you. So this was something that was part of my life, long before you were born. It's always something I had been in anyway. So I think as a parent, and I think I've talked about it in one other video a long time ago, is it's really weird to go back and forth between being a parent and being a caregiver on the other hand in my job during the day, and then coming back home being a parent at night. And then when I'm interacting with you, it's like, okay, I got to be dad. Oh, no, I got to be a caregiver. There's just all these different parts and facets of my life that have to kind of come together in a relatively decent way, and they don't always work. You and I have had our moments, of course, as any parent and child would. But yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. And going back to what you said, like, people assumed that, since my brother was big in choir and big in musical theater, they're like, oh, that's where you're gonna go, right? And I was like, well, I mean, I've been in a couple shows, and it was fun, but not quite. And then people were like, oh, your dad works as a training director, and he worked with he took care of people with special needs. Is that kind of why you went there? And I was like, I checked off every other possibility before I thought of working with special needs kids. So it wasn't, you guys never pushed me or pressured me. I mean, my mom works for the government, and I for a minute I did want to be like that when I was younger, but every kid wants to do what their parents did. And so for a minute I was like, oh yeah, this could work, I could be a government employee. And I was like, I don't have the brain capacity to handle that kind of stress. So I crossed that off, and then I didn't even consider like being a special education advocate. And so I was like, I didn't want to do that. I tried to do choir. I tried to
Yeah.
be a veterinarian for 6
That's right.
years.
Right.
And then I just kept going back to special education, but it had nothing to do with the fact that you were in special education. I mean, seeing you treating people with, again, dignity and respect, who had disabilities, inspired me to be like, yeah, I want to be treated that way, and I want to treat people that way, because people with disabilities are people. And so, that inspired me. And growing up watching you treat people that way, I was like, yeah, that's great. I want more of that. But I never thought, oh, let's work in there, or have me work in there. And then I came to the conclusion, yeah, I actually do really want to work in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those jobs, and you know it already because you've done so much work with it so far, that at the end of the day, like I said, you didn't change the world, but you did something good, and
Right.
you can come home and you can pat yourself on the back and say, you know what, I may not have made a difference in out there, but I made a difference in here for me and for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I mean, I know it doesn't. I mean, I'm sounding kind of like on a high horse here, but isn't that what it's all about? Is just, it's why I do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's such a joyful job for me,
Mm-hmm.
and it has been for years, that I can walk out of work with a smile and go, oh my gosh, that was a great day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And there are days where you've come home and you're completely drained. You're completely drained. And it's not because it was a bad day at work, or it could have been a bad day at work. I mean, people have bad days.
Yeah.
But it's draining to put your whole heart and soul into something you're so passionate about. But when you come home and you're completely exhausted, that's when you know you gave it your all, and you love it so much, because the next day you wake up and you want to do it all over again.
Well, I mean, but I think you bring up a really good point, Grace, and that's the passion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it, I come home exhausted and drained some days, but you know what? You're right. I'm not doing it again the next day. It was a good thing. It was a good thing. And if you come home exhausted and drained, like, I don't want to go back to work tomorrow, you might want to look for a different job. But for this and for me, it's been, like I said, it's been just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am so happy I got to have you on my channel again.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you so much for joining me again and sharing your passion and, educating people more about people with special needs.
As always. And just one more time, dignity, respect, kindness, compassion, and love. Okay? So put those in your life, people. They're all good things.
Preach it, practice it.
Live it.
Learn it, love it.
There you go.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay positive, be kind. I'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.